Thanks, Mary. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Allison Horn, and I'm with the Teammates Mentoring Program. I'm based out of the Omaha area, but we also serve chapters in Nebraska and Iowa and expanding into other states. Before we get started today, I wanted to give you a little bit about my background. I'm always learning in growth mindset, and I think we all are, as we'll discover today. But my role really began as a mentor. I started mentoring in 1999, and I've learned a lot through that experience. A lot of things along the way that I learned from my mentee, but also a lot of things I learned about growth mindset, about how failures actually aren't failures, they're opportunities for us to learn. So my background started in the mentoring area as a mentor, and then I became a local program coordinator and a regional coordinator, and I now do training and match support for teammates. But my very favorite role in teammates is that of being a mom, a parent of a mentee. And when I think about growth mindset and how a mentor can influence that, I've really seen that firsthand in the influence of my daughter's mentor, Ellie. Ellie is a remarkable lady who's in her upper 80s and has brought such a unique perspective to my daughter's life. But I think one of the things that Ellie really demonstrated is what growth mindset is all about, that learning happens at every season and every stage of life. So Mary will go on to the next slide. What I'd like to hear is from you. So today's intention is for this to be very interactive. I'm modeling this very similarly to the way that we do our mentor academies. So wherever you are in your mentoring organization, I think we all have found that mentors need a lot of support, and training doesn't necessarily just fall under policy and procedure. But training often means how can we support our mentors to really offer them the opportunity to find what they need when it comes to resources. So we like to gather our mentors, and instead of calling them trainings or renewals, we like to call them academies. So we give them opportunities to learn. In each of those academies, we like to honor the mentor's opportunity to be heard. And because we have so many of you on the call today, which I'm really excited about, we're going to leave off the last part, the joy and challenge, and I'm actually going to give you what I like to call a do-out, something that you can do within your day or within your week with coworkers. So the joy and challenge part, I'll ask you to do that later on, after the call, somewhere else in your life, to think about a joy and a challenge that you've had in your mentoring journey. But what I would like to hear from all of you is your name and your agency. So where we have representation from today.
Deborah Stevenson, Davenport Schools, and I run the business program.
Who else do we have on the call today? Mary, are you able to unmute everybody for a second?
Everybody
Lynn Carroll, Heart of Iowa, Big Brothers Big Sisters, Marshalltown.
Thank you.
Blake, Big Brothers Big Sisters of Siouxland.
Thank you.
Sue Kennedy, teammates.
Thanks, Sue.
Val
Hi, Val.
Hello.
Kelly Kaler, teammate.
Jackie McKeever, teammate.
Diane Fleming, Sioux City Boost.
Hi, Diane.
Allie
Deborah
Anderson.
Stevenson, Davenport Schools.
Trisha Dix, teammates.
Tricia?
Cassie, we can barely hear you.
That's why I typed it in the chat.
Thank you. Mary, maybe what we'll do is have everybody just enter into the chat. You can mute everybody again, but they can enter into the chat where they're from so that we can see representation. And the other thing, too, that might be great about this is the opportunity for us to network for what other agencies are doing. So if you want to, we can have you just enter into the chat, and if you'd respond to the whole group, and then just let us know where you are. But again, this is how we utilize the beginning of our Academy sessions, where mentors can share their name, and we ask them usually to share their time with the organization. So how long have they been mentoring? And then a joy of the mentoring journey and a challenge. And often in this discussion, we can find out a few things. One, we find out where they've had great support, where they've had confidence, maybe where their expectations were met. And the other thing that we can hear is what's their current challenge, or maybe even what's been a challenge that they've overcome in the mentoring journey. What's great about hearing that as providers for mentoring resources is we can actually hear what our mentors need, but it also gives them the opportunity to have their voice be heard. And I think there's a lot of value in honoring the time and expertise of seasoned mentors, but it really demonstrates to other mentors, maybe newer mentors coming on, that this will be a journey and that they have other people to support them. And what actually happens is mentors, seasoned mentors, demonstrate growth mindset by showing that they've maybe made it through the transition to middle school age, or maybe they've made it through a transition with a family. It's a great way to model growth mindset from the very beginning. Mary, I'll have you go to the next slide. So if you had the chance to review the handouts that went out prior to the call, we've got some materials here that really focus on what growth is and the difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. And I hope a few of you were able to do the growth mindset quiz prior to. And one of the things that I'd like you to ponder, and I hope that people would be open and honest, is, and I'll have you just chat in, how many of you were able to take the mindset quiz, if any of you got 100% growth mindset, or if any of you were 50-50, or where you sat on the scale. So if you would type in, how did you do on that growth mindset quiz, those of you who took it prior? And I'll wait for your responses. Fantastic. What I love about that pre-survey, I'll admit that probably 20, maybe even 10 years ago, if I would have taken this quiz, I probably would have fallen into more of a fixed mindset. I think there were a lot of things 20 years ago that I saw as obstacles that were ability related, or maybe even intelligence related, sometimes even education related. And so now that I've learned a little bit more about growth mindset, and if you haven't had the chance to look into the great work of Dr. Carol Dweck, this is really pioneering research around what growth mindset means. And I think for me, personal experience helped me to better understand what growth mindset truly is. And that is a focus that struggles actually help us to grow, and they help us to learn. So when I think about 20 or even 10 years ago, I may have fallen into more of a fixed mindset. And now when I take this quiz, I fall higher into the growth mindset. That's because of those struggles, it's because of those challenges, and it's because of learning. I think everywhere after the age of 40, I continue to reflect on the things that I learned in my 20s, and the things I learned as a teenager, and the things I learned in my 30s, and all the things I anticipate to learn beyond. So Mary, if you'll go to the next slide. So one of the great pieces of learning from Dr. Carol Dweck's research is that intelligence is developed like a muscle. There is great research, scientific research behind neuroplasticity and how the brain is malleable. And so again, my 40-ish-year-old brain was thrilled to know that I can continue learning and continue growing, and that my brain continues to develop. One of the things that we would encourage mentors to do, really thinking about their individual mentee, is starting a growth mindset dialogue by talking about the science behind it. So actually thinking about ways to help students understand how the brain is malleable. So one of the most direct ways mentors can help their mentee to adopt this growth mindset is to spend some time just really talking about neuroscience. There are lots of studies show that people are more likely to develop a growth mindset when they learn about the scientific evidence that the brain's ability to rewire itself happens through practice. So most of the growth mindset strategies that we'll talk about today are really subtle ideas. They're phrases, they're ways that you can weave them into normal conversations, everyday conversations at work, at home, with mentees, with mentors. But students and others often benefit from sitting down and really learning about the science behind it. And this might be the very thing that might help a student see their ability. It might trigger their understanding of their growth in a new perspective and a new light. The second piece, this was my greatest takeaway from the growth mindset learning, is to help mentees see mistakes as opportunities. So understanding that our failures are not failures. Our mistakes are not necessarily the end of the road. They are often leading to learning opportunities and building resilience and building grit for growth. So when we talk to mentors about helping their mentees see mistakes as opportunities, oftentimes mentors are just getting to know their mentee, and they may be learning a little bit more about their mentee's life. They might be getting stronger messages that are contrary to growth mindset. They might be receiving information that even as a mentor, there's nothing that you can do about that. You won't be able to control every environment that your mentee is in, but you can support your mentee in developing a growth mindset lens so that they can interpret challenges and setbacks as opportunities to learn and to grow. So for example, teaching students that working through a mistake might help them to get smarter. It's knowledge that they can take everywhere that they go. So when a student is working through a problem, it actually helps them to develop that skill set and that knowledge. And mentors being consistent, being patient, being understanding, that helps to convey that growth mindset message. So helping mentees to start to apply a growth mindset framework really helps them set the stage for challenges that come at any time of their life, at any stage, in any season. When we are open to learning new things, I think this is a key part as a mentor. One of my favorite mentoring stories is actually from my own personal experience. My mentee, Beverly, when I met Beverly for the first time, Beverly was a very strong-willed third grader. Actually, I always say if she walked into the room, she's the toughest person in the room, and she likes to be known that way. So when I met Beverly for the first time, I asked her what she wanted to do during our mentoring time together, and she told me that she wanted to throw the football around. At that time, I'm certainly not an athlete, but I thought, okay, I'm throwing the football around with a third grader, I can handle this. And when I went out to throw the football in the front lawn of the school with Beverly, a third grade girl, threw a perfect spiral to me so quickly, so fast, hit me directly in the stomach. I was very lucky that I caught it. And when I went to throw it back to her, I did the bowling method. So I don't really throw a perfect spiral. I actually lob it in the air and hope that it gets to somewhere near the recipient. Beverly took a long look at me, and I think she probably was assessing whether or not I should be a mentor and whether or not I should be her mentor. But she didn't give up on me. And the next time I came to see her, I asked her what she wanted to do, and she said, let's go learn how to throw the football. You need to learn. And so for about 9 weeks, that's what we did. We practiced my ability to learn how to throw a spiral. And I only did it once. She high-fived me and celebrated with me, but I heard her go back to the classroom later on and tell her friends that I'd finally done it. I'd finally thrown the football correctly. So when we as a mentor are allowing our mentee to teach us how to do something, we're reminding them that they matter. We are reminding them that they're important. We are reminding them that they have skills and talents to share, maybe even skills and talents that I as a mentor didn't possess. And so when I demonstrate that I'm open to learning new things, whether that's throwing the football around, or another one of my mentees, Jamie, she taught me how to utilize music technology. Whatever those things are, when we as mentors or as adults in young people's lives are open to learning new things, we're demonstrating growth mindset. And that is really led by example. We love to make yet statements. Yet is a very powerful word. So when you think about the concept of the word yet, it's really the add-on to a sentence that is fixed. If you had the chance to take a look at the blog piece that I wrote about the power of yet, it was from a personal experience where last summer my husband bought me a kayak, and I had been all about kayaking in my brain for many, many years, so I thought kayaking would be just as easy as I expected. Unfortunately, it's a lot tougher than I thought. The kayak's a lot heavier than I thought. And if any of you would have witnessed my attempts to get in and out of the kayak, you would know that I'm not good at kayaking. And so one of the things that I really found was it was a struggle. I was frustrated. I first was mad at him for buying it for me, of course, and then I was frustrated with myself because I couldn't pick it up and couldn't pick it up and couldn't get in the water. And I realized the power of yet. And one evening I came home after a long struggle with the kayak, and I said to him, I'm not good at kayaking yet. It changed my perspective. I realized there are resources that can help me. I found some YouTube videos. There's actually an organization here locally that helps teach kayak classes, but also it's practice. And so the power of the word yet is a great add-on. So your mentee may come to you and say, I will never be good at doing fractions. I'll never get to graduation. I'll never be able to solve this problem. But if we can help them to add on the word yet is a powerful way to futurecast and to be hopeful and to help them think about all the possibilities that are within the struggle. Encouraging questions both ways between the mentor and the mentee. So as mentors, we're really good at asking questions, but really allowing the mentee to ask the mentor questions as well. And I know a lot of you utilize different styles to do that, but encouraging mentors and mentees to ask questions back and forth. I have a mentor that I've been privileged to know who shared with me that for every question he asked his mentee to come back with 2 questions for him. And I think the way that we can open that dialogue and to talk about our experiences is by encouraging questions. And then trying new ideas. Anytime that we demonstrate that we're able to try new ideas, whether that's working with a schedule, whether that's the challenges of the mentoring journey, or maybe even the challenges of the developmental stage, we're trying new things with our mentee as well. And that's demonstrating what growth mindset looks like. So we're going to try a new idea together here. And Mary, if you'll go to the next slide. This is one of my favorite activities, a very, very simple way to demonstrate growth mindset. It's a strategy box activity. And none of these resources came from me. This is actually through the National Mentoring Partnership's Growth Mindset Toolkit. And if you haven't had the chance to go online, it's just a wonderful toolkit that's designed for teachers, for parents, and there's a 17-lesson toolkit for mentors. We have it linked directly to our organization's mentor resource library so that our mentors can find it quickly, but it's a great resource, and I just pulled all of this from there. So if you had the opportunity to take a look at the PDF attachments that Mary sent, these would be the last 2 pages of the PDF. The strategy box activity is very simple. When you look at these 4 quadrants, there are 3, the first 3, that are things that we've been able to do, things that we've accomplished. So when you ponder something that you've been able to do and those strategies that helped you get there. So the first 3 quadrants, and those are all in the black font, those are things that this individual has done, has been able to do, and the strategies that help them get there. Now this is not my example, but it certainly could be. I am a person who learned how to play the piano early on. I did take lessons every week for many years. Not only did I buy books on learning to read music, I bought sheet music that I loved because that helped me to practice. I did not remind myself to practice, but my mom certainly did. So the 3 and 4 were combined, and I've always had a passion for music. So that could apply to me. But when you look at these 3 quadrants, these are 3 things this individual has done and they've accomplished, and the strategies that help them get there. And then the 4th is a current challenge that they have on their mind. So when you take a look at the 4th quadrant and you see the bullet points, those are actually built upon the 3 previous quadrants, the 3 successes. So they took strategies from playing the piano and learning how to cook and having a good career, and they plugged those in to their current strategy that's on their mind, their current challenge. So if you go to the next slide, Mary, I'm going to ask you guys to give this a try yourselves. Now you can, if you happen to print the PDF copies, you can certainly utilize that. You can grab a piece of paper, or you can do this from your mind or from your heart. What I'd like you to do is think about three things that you've learned or three things that you've been successful at. And then I want you to think about what were those strategies that you utilized when you were in those moments. So something you learned or succeeded at, and then some strategies that you used to get to that goal. And so take a few minutes, and I would like you to complete this activity. And once you have one or two in the first 2 or 3 quadrants, then we'll talk a little bit about the fourth. So let's just spend a little bit of time on the first 2 or 3 quadrants. Something you've learned or been successful at, and the strategies you used to get there. So I'll give you just another minute to think on the successes and the strategies. And then if anyone would be willing to share an example of a success and the strategies that led to that, just one. If anyone would be willing to do that, if you would let Mary know in the comment box, or let us all know, and then Mary can unmute that one particular person and they can share about their success and their strategy. Colleen, if you'd be willing to share, that would be fantastic. Thank you. Mary, can you unmute Colleen?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Just a minute. I'll unmute her. And
Okay.
it's so fun. It was synergy there. I was messaging her to share.
Hi. So I put down graduating college at 33 years old and being a single mom. And strategies I used, I studied and then I continuously just thought of the outcome and kept myself motivated for myself and my daughter's future.
Oh, I love that example. All kinds of great future casting happening in there. Thank you, Colleen.
You're welcome.
Deborah, you would be willing to share? Mary, can you unmute Deborah?
Deborah's on the phone, and I'm not able to unmute her. I don't know that she's dialed in. I can't unmute until she enters the PIN.
Deborah, would you be willing to share your example in the chat? Would anyone else be willing to share an example? Deborah, I'll have you put your example in the chat box so that we all can see it. I'll go ahead and share an example for me. Something I did in my early 30s was I ran a half marathon. I was not a runner at all. To say that I was a walker of more than 1 mile was a stretch. So I just one day decided that I wanted to do that. And I found an online learning tool called Hal Higdon's Path to 5K, and that was a great one for me. I surrounded myself with really positive people who had done a half marathon or more that encouraged me to do so, and then I just ran, and I ran a lot. So when I think about the strategies that I used, it was really that simple. I had a kind of a start day. I had every week I had a certain goal that I had to meet. I found some really cool technology and music. There's a Couch to 5K program where the guy even tells you when to run and when to walk. Really fun ways to motivate me. So that's an example that I have as well. So the next part of this, what I'd like you to do is I want you to think about a current challenge. So if you look at the very top of this slide and you look at the fourth quadrant, I would like you to think about a current challenge that's on your mind. Something that's a current maybe goal, something you're learning, something you're even struggling with. And I want you to plug that in to the top part, the strategy box for your current challenge or goal. And then with the fourth quadrant, I want you to reflect back on the first two, or the first one, and what strategies can you borrow from your previous successes? What strategies can you borrow from your previous learning to plug in to your new challenge? And I'll give you all just a few minutes to do that. And again, I'll be looking for a volunteer to share. I'm good at calling on people. I have an education background, so I would be glad to kind of piece through to see who it might be someone's lucky day and I call on them. But if anyone would be willing to share, be thinking about their current challenges and the strategies that they borrowed from the other boxes. And I'll give you just a minute to think about that. Okay, would anyone be willing to share their current challenge and any strategies that they've been able to utilize, or maybe you're just thinking about today, a challenge that's on your mind, and what strategies did you discover that were successful for you in the past? You'll have to chat in if you are willing to share, so that I can know who to unmute or who to have Mary unmute.
Hey, this is Mariah. I'm here with Mary, and I can share one of my challenges that I will have coming up is that I'm going to transition to a new role here as Vista leader. So looking at some of the strategies that I've used in the past to adapt to new challenges is patience, having patience as I learn something new, patience with people, patience with myself, and research. I love to do a lot of research, so I'm lucky that the Vista leader, who is my Vista leader, her cubicle is right next to mine, so I definitely utilize her as a resource, and of course practice. So just getting used to the role and making sure that I get to know people.
Mariah, I love that example because patience is forever learning, forever, forever, and forever, and forever practice. So I think that's such a great example, really, as you're thinking about the next steps, the future next steps, and those are pretty immediate future next steps. Thank you for sharing that example. I also wanted to read Deborah's example about needing to learn how to deal with comprehension deficit when she went back to college. I did know that I was going to do it, but by chance I took someone's place, and my life literally changed. Not sure there's enough space there, but teach those strategies to students today, and their test scores rose by at least 1 grade, most of them 2 or 3. And I think, again, demonstrating by example is the key component there. I also love that a lot of our dialogue is on the different styles of learning, and a lot of us are dealing with adults. A lot of us are interacting with adults. We are mentoring mentors. So how do we help those adult learners to process growth mindset? I like to think about my grandpa. He was always practicing growth mindset. He'd be out in the garage learning something new. This was before the days of YouTube where he could look it up. He was just out there figuring it out. My grandpa definitely had that growth mindset model, and he modeled that to me. But I had other family members that were very much around a fixed mindset. It was around your education, around your grades, around how you learned or how you didn't do well, that put you in a category, it put you in a label, and it wasn't helpful for growth. And so when we think about our own example to the mentors that we work with, but also thinking about what we come with, our own experiences, our own learning styles, but also how that affects students today and how important it is to take a look at our own experience so that we can be sure to demonstrate that growth mindset to them.
And Allison Jessica has also shared an example in the chat box.
I see that. That is fantastic. My challenge is growing in my faith. Strategies I can see that I've used through graduating college, giving lots of time, being involved with Bible study groups, asking questions of others, and through success in learning to be a good lifeguard in the past, practicing and learning from others. That is a fantastic example as well. These are wonderful ways to really think about current challenges, past challenges, and I love that you are willing to share because that helps all of us realize that we might be able to learn from you. So I have a coworker, Tess, who I hope is on this call today because I think actually Jessica, you and Tess would be a great combination in sharing how you are thinking about different kinds of strategies. Tess is currently going to seminary as well as working. So that was such a great example of growth mindset. So this is an activity, again, that I borrowed from the National Mentoring Partnership's Growth Mindset Toolkit. It's online. It's very easy to find. There are 17 different lessons. This is just one of them. I love to print this out and offer this to our mentors during the academy training, and I have them just do it together, and we do this. Are you willing to share? And talk about, in our own personal life, how we might have these different examples. And then think about your mentoring relationship. So your mentee may come to you with a challenge. Your mentee may be in a challenging situation, and as a mentor, what you can do might be limited. This is a great way to talk about options. It's a great way to talk about successes. It's a great way for a student to reflect on things that they actually have done well and ways that they can build on those strategies for a better future. It doesn't mean that a mentor has to fix or solve. It's a great way for them to help their mentee work through that and solve that problem for themselves and work through that situation. Again, building on struggles to build growth mindset. So hopefully this was helpful for you, this activity. I would encourage you to try it out with people close to you, people you work with, people you live with, maybe even your own mentors, maybe even your own mentee. This is a great way to kind of talk through some current challenges, but also to celebrate some successes. And Mary, if you'd go on to the next slide for me, I have a couple more resource examples. We celebrate Mindset Monday, a great way to utilize social media so that we share the message on building growth mindset. So I gave a couple of examples of what Hannah, our awesome marketing coordinator, puts together for Mindset Mondays. These are just two examples from this month, but we try to honor each week. Some of these are things that I find, different resources. A lot of them are things that Hannah finds via Pinterest or other areas. So this is featured via our Teammates social media page. The one that's on the left, The Power of Mindset, a Student Perspective, I actually read that via the organization Mindset Works. And I would encourage you to check them out on Facebook and on Twitter. Mindset Works has a great wealth of resources that they throw out there every so often. Great place to follow. They also offer what's called the Brainology program. And so if you want to check into ways that you can send additional information to mentors or staff members or mentees about building growth mindset and learning new things. I also want to give a plug for the Khan Academy. That is just a great research and resource. Let me type it in here. It's spelled like this. It's Khan. It's the Khan Academy. Great place to find new learning and new opportunities. So you can check that out at any time. And then again, the last resource listed here is the Growth Mindset Toolkit. So I would encourage you to check that out. It's via the National Mentoring Resource Partnership Mentor. Great tools, very, very simple to use and very simple to send out. And if you go to the next slide, Mary, we're going to give this a try. So just to wrap up a little bit, when we think about how we all start somewhere and we're born to learn and we all have different challenges, struggles, and learning opportunities on our mind today. What I'd like you to do is in the chat box, I would like you to write a yet statement. So when you're thinking about that current challenge, so my example earlier was I am not good at kayaking, and then I add on yet. So I'm not good at kayaking yet, and how that changes that statement. So what I would like each of you to do is type into the chat box, what is something that you're not ready for yet, or you're not good at yet, or what's your yet statement? What's your current challenge? And I want you to add yet to the end of that statement. Oh, Jay Wright, I love that. I haven't started blogging yet. Financial organization yet. It's like you guys are reading my mind. Val, we can help with that. My daughter could probably help with that. Jamie, I love that. I need lots of help with that as well. Learning how to play the piano. Anytime is a good time to learn how to do that. Fantastic, Deborah. That's very good. Working on that this week myself. Healthy eating. I'm also working on cooking. These are excellent. Patience. That's kind of been our theme today. That's a good one, Tricia. These are all excellent. Now what I want you to do is I want us to help each other have some accountability. If you are in an office with someone, I would like you to turn to that person or a person, anyone next to you, and I'd like you to share your yet statement with them. So I will share my yet statement with all of you. I am not good at kayaking yet. And what I'd like you to do is share your yet statement with someone who can help you to be accountable. And if you don't have someone in your office, email me, you can email Mary, you can email any of us, and we will help you with that accountability. So make a yet statement, share it with someone, and ask that person, will you check in with me a month from now? So that we can kind of build that accountability for one another, but also that great joy in that we're learning together and we're learning with one another, and it's just what mentors and mentees do. If we can have a mentee share a yet statement with their mentor, what great insight for the mentor to focus their time with their mentee, ways to support that challenge, ways to encourage the mentee to solve that problem and work on those strategies that they talked about. So my hope is that you have a takeaway from today's learning and something that you might be able to share. If you'd like to add that into the chat box, we would love to hear it, what your takeaways are. Also would love for you to email me any of your takeaways if this has been helpful at all, or if there's any other way that we can help to encourage growth mindset. And I'd also like you to give it a practice. So we all start somewhere. We're born to learn. We're born not knowing how to talk. We're born not knowing how to walk. We certainly don't know algebra. We certainly don't know how to ride a bike. So all of those things took patience. All of those things took practice. All of those things required us to try. And so when you think about your yet statement, share that with someone and think about ways that you can start today and start somewhere. Wherever you are, whoever you are, you only have to know one thing. It's that you can learn anything. And so hopefully this growth mindset focus has been a great opportunity for us to share. I'm so excited to know that there are a lot of people who share some of the same challenges that I do. Cooking, healthy eating, exercising, all of these are great ones. So I'd open it up, Mary, to questions or comments.
I'll go ahead. If people have a question, if you just want to raise your hand or put it in the chat box and I'll unmute.
Thank you, Mary.
Allison, I don't see any questions or not seeing anyone raise their hand right now. So I think we'll, did we just have a comment?
Yeah, I see Jamie's question. Have mentors been receptive to this? Yes, very. I was actually quite surprised at how receptive mentors were to it. We actually added this into our new mentor training, which is a 3-hour in-person training about policy and procedure. We also talk a little bit about strengths, and we talk about the stages of mentoring, but we've been talking about growth mindset towards the end. And I ask the mentors at the end of training for a takeaway, and I've had a really great response to the growth mindset and the power of yet. Adults seem to be very receptive to this concept, but I also think a lot of our seasoned mentors love this because they want to help their mentee, but they know that doing that in a prescriptive or negative or try to fix it way is not effective. So they're looking for some hands-on ways to help mentees set a goal and to help them get through that struggle. This is a way to really tactically do that, but not do it in a prescriptive way. Hope that answers, Jamie.
Any other questions? We will send out the slides afterwards, and Allison's contact information is on there. This last slide, too, you can learn anything, is linked to a video which we were not able to share the audio with today, so unfortunately we couldn't share that, but I encourage you to watch that video. Allie touched on some of those points, and it's also from the Khan Academy, which she had mentioned earlier as a resource. So thank you so much, Allison, for sharing this today, and thank you everyone for joining us. Next month's PeerShare call is going to be about the Common Use Outcome Survey and having folks share how they're incorporating that in the data they're already collecting with their programs, and your opportunity to ask questions and just to kind of understand how that could work for your program. And also to talk about the IDPH, the Department of Public Health, their prevention grants. The RFP perhaps will be released next week already, but we can talk about that and how folks have used AmeriCorps members and other ideas about how to write for that grant. So join us for the call August 10th. This call is also recorded, as all of the PeerShare calls are, and they're saved on our website too, so you can use those as a resource. Thanks everybody for joining us today. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Mary.